Yo, what's happening, everybody? Thought I'd just drop a review on Evil Dead Rise. We got to watch it the other day, which was fun. It was definitely one of my most anticipated movies to go watch because of I'm a huge fan of the Evil Dead series, so it was definitely up there. Definitely went on opening night, which was good. Was expecting a lot more people there, but that's okay. But all in all, it was really enjoyable. There's definitely a story arc to continue. There won't be any spoilers. I'll try and not do any spoilers in here, so just be warned that there might be a few. I'm trying to not get fully spoiling the whole movie, but as of how they filmed it, location, like really good. The the makeup, whoever did the makeup and the design for how all the characters look, phenomenal. Like the best kind of makeup airy feeling that you get. But let's just start from the start. So mother, family, earthquake happens, and the book reveals itself because it's been buried in a bank vault. The young, the oldest or the oldest boy finds the book, does something stupid, reads out of it, or doesn't read out of it, almost plays it on like a turntable because it's been recorded on record players. So turntables plays it, unleashes the demon, which then in theory possesses the mother. So like it starts off really creepy. Like the starting scene is very eerie and a little like you're like okay, this this scene like it's this cabin in the woods. It's not like the original where it's like a log cabin. It's more like an A-frame, as I've come to learn now being in America. So there's in that, and then there's friends there, uh, and it's creepy moments, and that's how it starts. It's a really good starting scene. Like the starting and the title reveal, epic. So throughout the whole movie of Rise, for me, the atmosphere was really good. It was so like inviting, and you were always on the edge of your seat. It's like stormy, rainy. Like it's not like a fancy apartment. It's kind of run down. There's other people in there, so you get this feeling of like, okay, like this is happening. Like it's gonna be like a dark, creepy setting for a long time. But that didn't last. Like early on, because it's building up story. Like mother gets possessed, does loads of creepy things. Then it kind of like halts a little bit and drags for maybe like 30 minutes, like in the middle of the movie, and then proceeds to get like creepy and more what you expect from Evil Dead. I heard a lot of people say this is the most scariest one, and I can understand that. For me, it's not scary. Evil Dead for me are not scary. It's for me it's how messed up can people do things. Like how messed up can we push the limit of getting people to jump. Like so for me, because I've watched them all. And what my sister was a huge fan. I've watched them when I was like a little kid, like the early days. It's about bodily fluids. Like early on, it was like, oh, there's going to be bodily fluids going in and out of people. There's also going to be things that kind of make you like tense up and cringe because it's some things that you're not expecting. Now, we're gonna have to compare this one to the remake of the original because obviously the original's CGI and stuff is kind of it's way outdated, but it was still fun the visual effects they used. But so this one compared to Evil Dead remake, this one is like so more tame and less like cringe, like you're tensing up for things. Like more fucked up things happened on Evil Dead, like the remake of the original, to this one. This one was more, I don't know, friendly, if that makes sense. And they had the opportunity to do more crazy stuff, you know, because there is this like young people. So I don't know if that was the case. It's like okay, they've gone a younger cast. Do we need to tame down how messed up things are? And I think for me, that damaged the film. For me, being able to push that limit on an Evil Dead, what you expect to go and see, and what you expect. I think everyone was expecting like horrific moments. Like, so when I went to watch the original one, like the remake of the original one, there was people like how messed up a film is. You can kind of tell by the reaction of the audience that are watching. So on the remake, people were like freaking out. There was like sighs. There was loads of audio cues from the audience of being like, okay, that was messed up what we just saw. Whereas this one, everyone like there was hardly anything. There was no audio. There was a few laughs about Staffley. I think it's Staffley. I think. I think that's the name. No spoilers, but there's a scene in it. You'll get it. Whereas the first one was so much more messed up. Like the things that the original did, like where he pulls a needle out of his eye, like there's things like that in the original where like okay they pushed the limit and they went there, which was good because it made it so like messed up and it goes over the top. This one had so much better atmosphere and makeup design and like the actor who plays the mum, epic. All of the other actors kind of fall flat almost, which was a little disappointing. And I think some of their like there has to be a little bit of cheese in it, like a little bit of cringiness. Like there's moments in it where it's like okay, it's cringy, and there's a moment in the book where a monster is created. Let's just use that, and it was kind of lackluster. It wasn't scary. It wasn't fun. It was kind of just like okay, that's not. You could have done something so much better. But I think this one you have more. I think for me, what I found fascinating was the visualization of the book when it's opening, like the pictures and everything. It's so much detail. You can see so much, but it just wasn't like I came out of Evil Dead remake and I was like, well, that was fucked up. Like in a good way, being like, I came out of this with friends and everyone was like, so I did like everyone was discussing. So how did we find the movie? And my honest thing was, it was okay. Like which kind of like disappoints myself because I got I got the same feeling I did from like when I watched like Nightmare on Elm Street and then they remade it like brand new and it just what I got I was like, it was okay, like, and I think for Evil Dead, because it is such a highly appraised franchise of how horror's done, of how graphic and over the top things are, this one was kind of tame almost. Like, if the mother, if the actress who played the mother, if she wasn't in the film would have just been horrific. In terms of there was no other interesting characters, like other than when they were possessed, which is weird, right? It's like, okay, so normally what I found was like, okay, so when you're actually a human character, you're just boring. There's nothing there's nothing fun about it. And then you possess it, it's like, okay, so now you're more interested. But even then, there's so spoiler, mute this bit if you don't wanna listen. There's I'm gonna like do two bits, two spoilers that you probably if you've not seen the movie, just skip it. If you have, you'll know what I'm talking about. So the mother is kind of like a tattoo artist. So there's a scene where the mum jumps on to the daughter, like the oldest daughter, with a tattoo gun, and it's going towards her eye, the needle, and you're like, finally, like it's actually getting messed up. Like it's we're gonna see what we did in the remake, like some things that make you shiver because you're like, oh, this is gonna happen. But no, does it, scratches her on her cheek, and then licks her cheek to possess her. And it was like they fell flat in. They had all the momentum going to where everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's gonna happen," and then it just didn't, and it was like, well, what like that you want to build for me for horror movies. You want to build, and what Evil Dead's done, you want to build that tension of okay, this is happening. Oh my, like you want to be like, oh my god, and then you want to get to the point where it happens. You're like, oh, and you have to look away. Like for me, that was what makes Evil Dead, but it never happened. Like all that tension built up, and then it was like, oh, I'm gonna do it on the cheek, and it was like, well, that was pointless. Like there was no payoff. You had all this build up for that, and then the second part is now obviously because the girl's possessed because she's technically that's how you get possessed. It's like bodily fluid, things going into you or transition of fluids. So the girl, the oldest, is now possessed, and she was doing some creepy stuff. But even her creepy, she was eating glass, and it like you could see it poking through the neck, like because she was swallowing it. You could see it like scratching, like it was sticking out a little bit, but it wasn't fully penetrating the skin. And you're waiting, and then she just swallows it, and like there was no payoff for it. So that was kind of like okay, like it wasn't like I think people were expecting that to be freaking people out, like eating a little bit of glass, and you could see it poking through the throat as it's going down. But it didn't. It was not. It wasn't like the original where a girl has to chop her own arm off with like a meat saw, electric meat saw, or like the violence in Evil Dead remake compared to this. There was no violence in it. This was more, and I do appreciate that. This is more tension build, like a tension build up with no payoff, unless it's the mum. Everything else there was just no payoff, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, like is it because there's a teenage cast you don't really want to push the boundaries a little bit? Like, because when it came to the mother and like the adults and stuff, because there were, don't get me wrong, there's some scenes where You're looking through the peephole, and I think there's like two young teenagers. I don't know how old they are, but they're young, and they're trapped outside with the mother, and she's pulling their arms off and stuff. So background violence 100% was there, but in front of your face that you're like engaged in just wasn't there. So for me, could I watch it again at the movies? 100%, yeah. I'm a huge horror fan. Like, I'd watch it again in a heartbeat just because there's a lot of Easter eggs. There's things from The Shining. Like, there's obviously chainsaw moment. There's so many things that's Easter eggy. There's an elevator scene, what imitates like the wood scene from Evil Dead remake. So there's things, and then there's a part of it where it's like you on the tape you're listening to it, and there's it's about priests. Like three priests find the book, try to translate it because I don't think this one's a Necronomicon. I think this is a different one because it's three books. So I don't know if we're just seeing variations of the different three books. So for me, like the priest thing sounded more interesting than what this is. I think as a standalone film, this is good. It's still Evil Dead franchise, but it's not a remake of another one. I think was good. I think they did it right in the aspect of atmosphere, and so if you're not a huge horror fan, you probably do find it good. And like, I think a few of my friends were a little bit like, oh, like that was horrible. Whereas, but if you're used to horror films and Evil Dead, you're like, there was just no payoff. So for me, I'll give it like a solid 7. I think people who are giving it like 9s out of 10, there's like loads of ratings, like 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. No, there's just no payoff for it at all. For me, solid 7. And it was nice to see, like, hopefully where it goes next on the next film is because I think I'm a huge fan of Bruce Campbell, like, so hopefully I want to see the priests one, the three priests, because that'll be really interesting to see how that they do that. So that's my take on it. So I don't know. I was just a little let down by the film. It's a solid film. It's definitely rewatchable. You're not gonna sit there and be like disappointed. Like some horror films, you go in and you're like, "What the hell was that? It was just pointless. It was a ball fest." This, it does keep you engrossed, minus 30 minutes of it where it disengages the whole audience. And if you're okay with like no payoff, there is still some messed up things in it. Don't get me wrong, but if there's because there's no payoff, if you're okay with that, it's okay. For me, if I had an issue with it, if I had payoff, I'd have gave it like an 8 or 9 maybe. Actually, I'd probably give it an 8. I'd give it an 8 now, 8 out of 10. If it had payoff, I'd have gave it a 9. But for me, that's what it is. It fell flat on a few things. Hopefully they learn from it because it's not you're not remaking it off an old one. So you've already got like the material for a remake where this is brand new. I think makeup design and how they portrayed the characters and the airiness of things they should keep 100% should keep. I think that was fantastic. It added the creepy factor. I think next time going in, choose the right cast. I think, like I say, Mum was good. I don't think if the reason there was no payoff is because it's a younger cast, like children and teenage, just scrap it, get rid of it because it didn't work. People go into Evil Deads to expect like let's the remake nail gun to the face like 6 times, like or a hammer to the hand and it splits the hand open. Like there's so much she's sat in the bathroom with glass cutting. Like there's so much for the remake payoff. Like, and I think if it's because kids and teenagers on this, don't do it. Scrap that younger cast, go a little older, add the payoff, and it'd have been awesome. I like the fact that at the end they did over the top blood. So keep that. Always keep the over the top thing. You got to keep the chainsaw in. It's just that's what. This literally the item of all the movies, and obviously Ash versus Evil Dead. It's the way it goes. So I'm never disappointed when I see a good chainsaw scene. But for me, if you've not seen it, go watch it. I think if you can wait for it to come out so you can watch it at home, do that as well. It probably is a little better in movies because of the atmosphere, but also you'll get the atmosphere. But you got to probably watch it at night. It's not like a daytime movie; it's all night, so you kind of have to watch it at night, get that eeriness, try and get yourself more scared than usual. But like I say, I give it 8 out of 10. Okay film, could be better. This is my review. Hopefully, I think the next movie we're going to go watch at movies, because we're going to do a movie series of horrors, because I'm a big fan of horror, obviously, is The Boogeyman, because I'm pretty sure it's done by Stephen King. Like, so, obviously we all know his movies should be good. So hopefully that one's good as well. But 8 out of 10, okay movie. Go watch if you're not seeing it. If you're a horror fan, be aware, not a lot of payoff. And that is my review. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that follow for the channel. And you'll see me either streaming on Twitch, gaming, or doing movie reviews. And I'll catch you on the next one, peeps. Much love and peace.